Thank you, Deborah. Well, this is a time in our service when we have the opportunity to experience and express gratitude, love, and prosperity. So just like we spoke earlier about your commitment to your spiritual journey and your commitment to your spiritual home. So I ask you to hold that in your heart as you decide what you can give this morning. For we appreciate all that you give. If you desire to give by cash or check, we can take that this morning. If you want to give through a credit card, you can do that online, unityhartford.org. Allow yourself to feel as grateful as you can to the God in you as your one true source of all. And then hold also in your heart a blessing for everyone in our country. Hold a blessing in your heart for America, okay, for our country. You know, whatever that may be for you, hold that in your heart also and give that also as a blessing today. So please join me in our offering blessing. It's on your bulletin. Together. Divine love, flowing as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am and have, all that I give and receive. And so it is. Amen. Will the ushers please come forward?
I hope you'll sing along. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, brothers, let's go down, let's go down. Come on down, come on, brothers, let's go down, down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, mothers, let's go down, let's go down, come on down. Oh, mothers, let's go down, down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, fathers, let's go down. Come on, fathers, let's go down. Oh, fathers, let's go down, down in the river to pray.
Well, today we were going to continue on our Sunday Talk series, Swimming in the Flow of Life. Or maybe dancing in the flow of life. We could do that too. Well, our first week, I encouraged you to ponder on an Eric Butterworth phrase from his book, In the Flow of Life. And I'm going to keep encouraging you every week because, as someone said to me, boy, the more I think on this, the more I go deeper and deeper. So, God is a sphere whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. And Bob, if can you go back and close the kitchen doors for me? Thank you. God is a sphere whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. So if this sphere has a center that is everywhere, then where is it? It must be where I am. It must be where you are. We are each the center of God, the center of the allness. We are an eachness in the allness. Eric Butterworth says that we are never farther away from this healing flow than the consent to let it unfold within us. Now, last week we talked about consenting or allowing, instead of begging and searching, praying, or even affirming. For many of us, this seems too easy. This is way too easy. It should be harder. Certainly some of us have been taught that anything worth having is worth fighting for. Allowing can be as easy as letting a possibility exist or letting a possibility happen. It is being open to receiving. And actually, allowing presumes that it's already here. It's ready. It's ready for you to receive. All we need to do is consent. The possibilities are already available. Our good is already here. It's up to us to allow it to unfold. Eric Butterworth says, you are in the ceaseless flow of the creative process that is God, or whatever word you have for God. God is a circle, and you are centered in that. All the attributes of the infinite are in focus as you. You are in this flow. You are this flow. At the point where you are. The divine flow, that sense of connection with Spirit, can provide in us in every way. It is the way to receive our highest good. And when we are in that state of allowing, the flow of the universe can pour in, through, and as us. And the truth is, we don't need to do much. We just need to release the idea that it's hard, it's difficult, it's a struggle. We have been so trained to think of good things coming into our life as hard to get, difficult. I guess it'll happen when it happens, right? But yet, it's us who is holding on to those thoughts that prevent it from happening, prevent us from being in the flow of life. So it might just require us to embrace the possibility that maybe we don't really know everything that we think we know. Or maybe we don't have the answer. Without knowing how or when our good might pop up, we could just trust that the universe has our back and be open to our highest and best. You know, I often begin my private and my public prayers with a phrase like, we open our minds and our hearts. Why? Because we tend to walk around with closed minds and closed hearts. You might say, well, not me. No, I'm not like that. No. But think about how often you reject an idea. Maybe I remember somebody saying to me, well, you should try, eggplant. I'm like, I'm not trying eggplant. Did I even try it? No. So even before I give something a chance, nope. I hear something on TV, nope. I watch a commercial, nope. Okay, but we're ready to give out. Oh, you know what you should do? Okay. So we may not in this moment have all the answers. We may have to open our hearts and our minds. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a clear understanding of what's important to you, of your values, your beliefs. Grateful that you do, that you've done that work to know yourself. And yet, we still need to open our minds and our hearts. There is this great Bible story about the disciples. Now, you know by now, I think, that we interpret the Bible metaphysically, not literally. So we'll also punch in some of the metaphysics as we go along. Well, this story occurs after Jesus died and after he rose from the dead. Now, the disciples heard that he had rose from the dead, and some even saw him. But it was hard to wrap their heads around that idea. And actually, it just left them more confused, worried, and fearful. So, like many of us, when we feel worried and fearful and confused, we check out, right? We go back to something that feels comfortable, feels known. It may just be channel surfing, It may be playing games on our computer. It may be whatever. Okay? The disciples were just like us. They decided to go back to their old, comfy, perhaps even boring life. You know what? We were fishermen before we met this guy Jesus. So let's just go back to fishing. So they decided to go out fishing. Who went fishing with them? Peter. Peter represents faith. Thomas, who represents understanding. Nathaniel or Bartholomew, who represents imagination. The sons of Zebedee are James, who represents wisdom, and John, who represents love. They went out, got into the boat, but they're doing this at night. They're in the darkness. At night, they're fishing. And guess what they caught in the darkness? Nada. They caught nothing. Early in the morning, they're now approaching the shore. And there's this guy on the shore. Well, it was Jesus. But the disciples didn't realize that. Well, Jesus calls out to them and says, "Friends, haven't you caught any fish?" "No," they answered. Well, this stranger suggested that they throw your net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some fish. Well, they didn't have any other ideas, and they were hungry by this time, so they went, "What do we got to lose?" So they threw their nets on the other side, and they pulled in so many fish they could barely get it to the shore. Well, I love the metaphysics of this story. They were at a crossroads, not knowing what to do. Do they go back to their old way of thinking, of coping, hiding out in the darkness, in lack consciousness, getting nothing? Or do they open their minds and hearts and take a new idea? One new idea into their consciousness, into their awareness. Maybe there is a different idea. Maybe there's something I hadn't thought of. Maybe I could try something new. The old's not working. We didn't get any fish. Maybe I just need a new attitude. And fish represent divine ideas. Well, with a simple and different awareness, everything clicked. And they had so many fish, so many divine ideas, they could barely accommodate them all. And they enjoyed so much more than they could have even thought possible. Just a new attitude, a new perspective, a new way of thinking, a new thought. Be you transformed by a new way of thinking about you. Now, anyone want to experience a different perspective? Want to have some fun? Okay. So I'm going to ask Willie to help me out here, and maybe Bob can help him too. We're going to play. Thank you, guys. So what they're bringing up right now is a box. And I have to look at the box before we put it down. So let me. Okay. Thank you. So everyone stay in your pew, no standing up, no contorting your body like a pretzel. Okay. Deborah's like we could, you know. Okay. All right, good. Okay. So now you're all going to help me. Obviously, this is a box, right? So I'm going to ask different people what they see. All right? We're going to start back here. So anybody back here can tell me what they see. Raise your hand. What do you see? Joy. Oh, okay. So does anyone else see joy? Who else sees joy? Oh, no, these people don't have any joy. No joy. Anyone back here able to see anything else? Peace. Anyone able to see peace? Okay, a few. There we go. Great. All right. So, how about this? Anybody who can see this? And what do you see? Joy. Joy. Anybody over here? We all discovered they have no joy. Okay. Right, we don't see joy. What about this? Who can see this side? What do you see? Love. Love. Anybody back here can see love? No. All right. Well, let's try this. What do you guys see back here? 6. Right? What do you guys see? 9. 9. What do you guys see? Now what do you see? 6. Okay. All right. So we have the same box. It's just one box. But each of you saw different things. And some of you couldn't see what other people were seeing. Why is that? Why was that? Different points of view. What's another way of saying that? Perspective. Another perspective. Any other ways of saying that? Different facets. Anything else? Different experiences. Different beliefs. Kat? Different perceptions. So we see with our eyes, right? But what else do we see with? Our hearts, our minds, our past experiences. They all color that. They're all part of that. Well, I want to share a story with you, especially since it's Father's Day, but this will not be a Hallmark moment, okay? Spoiler alert, it's not going to have a Hallmark ending. But it was a wonderful thing for me to learn. So, my dad and I did not get along. We fought often. And in fact, I didn't like him. And he didn't like me. And we told that to each other. He was a typical 1950s war veteran who did not know anything about the inner life, okay? And was only in touch with one emotion, anger. Okay. I, on the other hand, was you might say, a hippie, and very rebellious, and so I was perfect. That was me. And so after one particularly bad argument with my dad, I went to his sister, who's my godmother, and I said, Aunt Rosalie, what is going on with this guy? What is wrong with him? What's happened? This is ridiculous. What is wrong with your brother? Well, she sat me down, and she told me how he was fathered, and it was horrific. It was, I couldn't even have imagined it. It was so horrific. It broke my heart to hear that, which is exactly what I needed. Because up until that point, compassion was not involved. Compassion was not part of it. Now, did it make everything he did or said or not do or not said okay? Absolutely not. I still didn't like him. I still didn't want to be around him. But having a different perspective changed me. Didn't change him one inch, not at all. But it changed me. I no longer felt that I had to greet anger with anger. I no longer had to hit back verbally when he did. I no longer had to meet judgment with judgment. I could free myself from that. And when I discovered that I could free myself from that and see him differently, my world perspective also changed. I could see other people differently. And I didn't know that I had that capacity to do that at the time. So my perspective allowed me to simply allow. I stopped feeding his hurtful actions and words. And in doing so, I freed myself. Changing my perspective freed me, and I found my life flowing so much more easily. Life wasn't that much of a struggle as I had seen it previously. Over the years, I've become less and less reactive. I often say at this point it's almost hard to insult me, you know? And I'm not in bondage to feeling powerless, to feeling a victim. Did the things that happened between my father and I change? No. They're all still there. But I don't see them the same way. And so, playing with this box and playing with this Bible story, perhaps that gives you an opportunity to think of what has happened in your life with a different perspective, with a different viewpoint. What am I bringing to this story? And what is my story? And so we can all take a moment to look at our stories. Didn't change my dad. My dad was who he was till the day he died, and we didn't get along. It did not have a happy Hallmark ending. But in some ways it did. It did for me. I learned a lot about me through knowing more about him. And I got to bring that along into my life. Just like all of you might have done or will do. So I just want to read something from Eric Butterworth's book, In the Flow of Life. So I'm going to head back up there, and maybe Bob and Willie, we can move this to the back so people don't stumble over it as they leave. So this is Eric Butterworth's book, In the Flow of Life. And on page 43, he says, "The current of life is within you as always, but you need to get your thoughts consciously on the right side. Then determine that you will fish only on that side. Keep yourself free from negative reactions and the sense of burdensome competition. Your life is to be lived from the inside out. The things that happen around you or to you could have very little bearing on your physical well-being. What counts are the things that happen in you. In the East, it is said, you may not be able to keep the birds from flying over your head, but you can keep them from building nests in your hair. When you are in the right consciousness, it will be a case of none of these things move me. You'll be consciously in the flow. So when we can let go of our anger, our resentment, our hatred, our fear, our worry, lack thinking, we are open to the flow of life. So it's not so much what we have to do, but what we have to let go of. And one of the best ways to move from having these negative emotions or thoughts control you is to allow compassion to enter into you. And who knows, maybe compassion for yourself. And maybe even compassion for those people you don't like. I hear so many people saying, "What is wrong with them?" And the one thing that I find interesting is that everyone has a different them. Because the people that you're saying, "What's wrong with them?" they're saying the same thing about you. What's wrong with them? So, maybe your them may not be able or willing to change, to get a new attitude, but you can. I don't even ask that question anymore, what's wrong with them? Because there's no answer. As Martin Luther King said, returning hate for hate just multiplies hate, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And if love is asking too much, how about compassion? You see, I don't want to add any more anger, hatred, or darkness to the world. Anyone else want to add? No. Of course not. Going back to the Bible story, remember the disciples fished in the darkness and received nothing? In the new dawn, they opened their minds and their hearts to a new perspective and received so much more. And the new perspective is not about saying what those people or that situation was okay. Not that at all. It's just simply saying, how can I look at this box from a different angle and change my heart and mind to be compassionate and to bring love into the world? To take a moment and discover who I am and what is my heart's desire. And how I can free myself through my thoughts and my heart. And truly create the world that I envision, using my power of imagination through having an open mind and an open heart. And as we do, we allow ourselves to just dive into the flow of life and swim effortlessly. And so I'm going to give the final word here today to Reverend Eric Butterworth. He says, affirm this every day, and I'll have it in the newsletter. I am in the flow of life, and I move easily with this flow. I am radiantly and enthusiastically alive. I am free from tension, stress, and strain, and I go forward in the flow of life, unhurried and unworried. And so it is. Namaste.